Writing down this quadratic equation, x squared plus 2x minus 3. So we are going to do 5 or 6 things with this. The first one is to write this in factored form like we learned yesterday. So to write it in factored form, we're going to use the completing the square method. And if you feel confident, you can work ahead of me. So I'm going to add 3 to the opposite side. Then, since there's just a 1 in front as a leading coefficient, I don't have to factor a number out. I identify the b and I divide it by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. And I want this to stand out because I'm going to come back to this portion later and notice that this sign is positive. 1 squared is 1. So to keep this equation balanced, I added 1 to the right and must also add 1 to the left. And now what do I put behind here? A plus sign and the number 1. As you recall from yesterday, this is equivalent to this trinomial. These two are equivalent. I'm going to move the 4 to the opposite side. When it moves across the equal sign, it becomes a negative. So this is the vertex form. And if somebody asked you to identify the vertex is -1, -4. And if somebody asked you to identify the y-intercept, it would be 0, -3, and you could find that by looking at the original equation in standard form. Red cup, green cup with your understanding so far of this. Okay, the next question is to rewrite this in factored form. Factored form may also be known as intercept form. So let's see, can we do this? Are there two numbers that multiply to give you -3 and combine to give you a +2? The answer is yes. It would be x plus 3 and x minus 1. When do you have to do bottoms up? When the number in front is different than 1, you have to do bottoms up. Right now, this is in factored form, also known as intercept form. So if somebody asked you to identify the x-intercepts, it would be x equals -3 and x equals +1. So let's just do a very rough graph of this so we have an idea of what this looks like. We have an x-intercept at -3, an x-intercept at +1. We have a y-intercept of -3 and a vertex of -1, -4. Okay, with that, let's talk about what is the domain. So the domain, as a reminder, from all quadratic functions is -infinity to +infinity. The range starts with the lowest point. The lowest y value occurs at -4. It's part of the function, and there's no limit how high it goes. And lastly is the end behavior. As we go to the far left, our function is headed up. And as we go to the far right, our function is also headed up.